Coming up in today's episode, I am talking to Matthew, who is an early career psychologist. He is in the middle of his undergraduate psychology degree, and we are talking about research, how he has managed to get himself such robust, important research experience before he has even graduated. It is a brilliant episode. I challenge you not to be riveted and so interested and inspired. I feel inspired. I feel in awe having met him. Hope you find it so useful.
If you're looking to become a psychologist, then let this be your guide. With this podcast at your side, you'll be on your way to being qualified. It's the Aspiring Psychologist Podcast with Dr. Marianne Trent.
Hi, welcome along to the Aspiring Psychologist Podcast. I am Dr. Marianne Trent and I am a qualified clinical psychologist. I hope that you are well wherever you are listening to this in the world, and whatever stage of your career that you are at. I know that people listen to this podcast or watch it on YouTube from a variety of different locations around the world and from different stages of their career. And people do pitch to me, and I love receiving pitches. So today's episode is the result of a pitch that someone made to me. If you have ideas for a podcast topic that you think will be an interesting and useful listen to people that are on their journey as aspiring psychologists, or even as qualified psychologists for that matter, do please let me know. Please also do remember that the Aspiring Psychologist Collective book and the Clinical Psychologist book are both available. There will be links in the show notes and in the description how you can get your hands on that. Back listens to Aspiring Psychologist podcast episodes can be really useful for helping you to learn and understand topics that you might feel you need strengthening. Do also consider the Aspiring Psychologist membership, and you can come out and hang out with me on the Aspiring Psychologist community on Facebook as well. I hope you will find today's episode so useful. We do discuss some tricky kind of brain concept and structure issues, but Matthew describes it all beautifully and brilliantly, so I hope you will find it useful. I would love any feedback that you've got. Please do, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know what you think to the content in the comments. Please do like and subscribe whilst you're there as well, and I will look forward to catching up with you on the other side of meeting Matthew. I hope you enjoy it. See you soon. Hi, I just want to welcome along our guest for today, Matthew. Matthew is an early career psychologist. He is in year 3 of a 4-year psychology undergraduate degree. Is that right, Matthew?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Lovely. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming here today. And you reached out to me on LinkedIn because you pitched an episode to me, which I love. So thank you for doing that. And it was, you wanted to kind of talk a bit about research. But before we do that, if we could have a little bit of a chat about you and why you chose psychology and how your study's going.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Definitely the podcast and all the content has been very helpful, navigating career paths and all of that. So thanks for having me. But yeah, I grew up in Tuam in Galway, County Galway in Ireland. I'm currently living in Galway City. And I'm in my 3rd year, as you said. I like exercising in my free time. I love psychology, obviously. Yeah.
Thank you. Somewhat put you on the spot there, didn't I?
Yeah.
So you are in Galway, which is where I recently came to do a keynote speech, and I just have to say I absolutely loved the city and found everybody so welcoming. I think you couldn't be there that day, so we haven't met in person, but just incredible. And just a little plug, if anyone wants to watch the vlog episode of my trip to Galway, Matthew says it's quite good. So I'll take that.
Yeah.
Take that as credit. Thank you. All right. So, how come your uni is a 4-year course?
So we're actually the first cohort that's doing year 3 of 4. So originally every other year it was first year and you do psychology and you pick 2 other subjects. So I picked Spanish and philosophy, and then your second year is just psychology. It's very competitive. It depends kind of what grades you get. You might have to do 2 subjects. But generally it was a 3-year course. So this year is the first time they're trying out a 3rd year. So people are going abroad to study in different universities. People are doing research placements, work placements in kind of educational settings, or maybe like charity services and or organizations. It's been really amazing. Like the modules we have this semester, a lot of electives, like medical psychology, kind of seeing how psychology is applied in medical settings, which has been really, really interesting. And community psychology is definitely one of my favorites so far. We're kind of learning about like stuff, alternative methods to like the scientific method, the standard one, maybe how you can work with communities, and looking at like the role of a psychologist less as like a power dynamic and more of how you can kind of let communities guide the whole process and really integrate them in research and practices and stuff like that. So, and just talking about societal issues like misogyny, racism, and decolonization, a lot of really broad but really important topics. Yeah, it's just been great, really, and the class is a lot smaller this year, so we're all getting to know each other more, and we're planned the night out now, so it's a nice energy in the class.
Oh, good. That sounds like a really, it's funny you should use the word energy, because you sound energized by it. You sound like you're like, oh my days, I can't believe I get to learn this, This is so exciting. I know that before we hit record, you'd said that you'd actually done a couple of years as a different undergraduate degree to begin with. Do you think that's kind of left you with renewed vigor to really embrace this that feels right this time?
Yeah, for sure. I think I definitely felt very lucky, like that I had another chance to study something else, just because of money and everything, but yeah, I left home when I was 17. So I guess I really didn't really know, how to like manage money properly. And I guess like I was being a teenager, like having fun and doing what you do when you go to college first. But I did animation first for a year, and that was a very good course. It was in Athlone. I think we were the first ever like students to do that course, though. We were the first entry year, so I guess there's a lot of issues around funding and stuff, and getting materials, and sometimes lectures kind of dropped out, and there's a lot of stuff there. So I actually changed to music. Then I did music for a couple of months and then I left that, and I decided I was going to work for a while and kind of really decide what I wanted to do. So I ended up with I applied to university, but I actually got rejected because I hadn't done a language in my leaving cert. So I did a level 5 course kind of in applied social studies, and there's a psychology module there. And we were doing all like the standard like Freud and very like almost pop psychology kind of stuff. And I just really enjoyed it, like the case studies, and we did like human growth and development. So I just loved it. And then I got into University of Galway through that course, thankfully, and then I took psychology, and then I transferred from that into denominated psychology, and yeah, I feel super lucky every day to be studying it, and just like really happy, really engaged,
Love that, and honestly, that's how I feel about my life, like, and my career. It beams out of me. I love it. I can't believe I get to do this, and people listen to me, and I also get to work clinically as well, and that's really helpful for people. I pinch myself. Do you see yourself going into a psychology profession?
Yeah, ideally, I'd love to go down the route of clinical psychology. Since the summer, working on that paper, I've definitely geared towards like maybe clinical neuropsychology, if that would be possible. It's a long road, but ideally, I'd like to do something like that. Maybe, I'd love to work in psychology. I'm trying not to limit myself too much in terms of what route I go down, but whatever I'll be lucky enough to partake in, I guess,
Yeah, I think, you make the choices that are right for you at that time, and you learn along the way, and maybe you will like particular areas, maybe you won't, but it's keeping the things that work well for you and learning from the bits that don't go so well. In the UK, I think in terms of clinical neuropsychology, you do your clinical psychology and then do a master's in neuropsychology. Does your undergraduate confer the British Psychological Society kind of mark of approval in order to get onto UK doctorates, or is it a little bit different with you being in Ireland?
As far as I know, I think so, because I know the HSE, like the health services here, for assistant psychologist roles, they look for like degrees that are accredited by the PSI, the Irish Psychological Society, or the British one. So
yeah, okay, lovely. So I guess that means hopefully you've got options available for you to train in Ireland or maybe in the UK as well.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, hopefully.
So you mentioned your research paper there. Could you tell us a little bit about what you've been up to?
Yeah, so last year they sent out a call for kind of scholarships during the summer, research internships, and I sent an email to one of my lecturers, Dr. Tom Burke. He's a clinical neuropsychologist in the hospital in Galway here, and I told him I had an interest in schizophrenia and kind of like social cognition, and personality disorders and different stuff like that. So he recommended to apply for a neuroscience, the Galway neuroscience scholarship. So he kind of told me like there's a data set they've already collected, they've been working on, called iRelate, a very big data set of people living with schizophrenia and kind of different social cognition tests and childhood trauma and genetics as well. So yeah, he said I could work on that data set and maybe to pick a white matter tract. So I did some research and came up with the uncinate fasciculus. It's it's like a frontal white matter tract. And he was like unbelievably helpful, like super supportive. I definitely wouldn't have been able to do any of it without his guidance. So he guided me along and we came up with an idea for the relationship between emotion recognition, I suppose a facet of social cog is emotion recognition, the uncinate, and childhood trauma. So we kind of looked at the relationship between those three and kind of whether physical neglect in childhood kind of mediated the relationship between social cognition and the development of the uncinate fasciculus in the brain.
With the theory being that the tract is somehow linked and important to whether someone does or doesn't develop schizophrenia. Is that where it's rooted in?
Yeah, sort of kind of, maybe it might be to do with social cognition. And we're kind of thinking maybe childhood trauma affects the development of that white matter tract. And then through affecting that, as the person grows older, their emotion recognition might be negatively affected, and then that could contribute to the development of schizophrenia that they might already be at risk for, or other factors might be playing a risk. But it was really interesting in the research looking at, I suppose, how emotion recognition can play into someone who might be experiencing psychosis or at risk. They actually found that poor emotion recognition of neutral faces was predictive of transition to psychosis in people who are at risk. So someone might be talking to someone in a social setting and then they're picking up maybe an angry face from someone who has a neutral expression. And maybe if that person already is at risk and maybe has some delusional thinking or kind of paranoid thought styles, that they might start thinking, oh, this person's angry at me, and could cause a lot of distress then, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's got really useful utility even for us working with people with psychosis, because actually when we were using our listening faces, they might look quite blank, they might look quite neutral. And if that can be interpreted really like negatively or hostilely, is that a word? Then that's problematic, isn't it? So I guess this is why I love research, because it teaches us so much about the person, about their experience of the world, and how to understand and make things less frictiony, so that things work better all round, and that people have a better experience of it. You mentioned a data set there, but it wasn't one I'm familiar with. Could you tell us what the data set is? How do you spell the data set that you mentioned?
So it's like a lowercase I and then the word relate. So RELATE. I'm not, I don't fully understand the whole project. It's a very big project, but it's ongoing. There's been a lot of papers published from it, and they did a big kind of neuroimaging on people living with schizophrenia and social cognition tests. And kind of what my supervisor, Dr. Burke, said to me was, these people have given their time, for us to collect this data. So it's important that we kind of use it to the fullest that we can, to benefit other people. So yeah, there's actually a really interesting documentary about schizophrenia on RTE. I'm not sure, it's not on RTE now, but if you look it up online, it might come up. And there's lecturers from University of Galway and from the iRelate project, and the lead of that project, Professor Gary O'Donoghue, and he talks about schizophrenia and about the project, and yeah, it's really fascinating if anyone's interested. So.
Sounds great. I can see why this has kind of evoked this interest in you. And I guess what I really love is that you're learning so much at a stage of your career where actually usually we're probably quite limited just to textbooks, but you're seeing like real world applications and real world research for this. And I think that lights you up, and but kudos to you as well, Matthew, because you're clearly the kind of guy that reaches out and asks for opportunities, like you did with coming on the podcast, and like you did with even approaching the professor at Galway Uni. You have it's similar to me. You have the idea and you give yourself permission to ask and to explore. And the worst they can ever do is say no. But you never know where it might lead.
Yeah, I think something I've learned the last few years is that, it's always worth taking chances. A lot of the good things that have happened over the past few years is because other people gave me chances, and I kind of gave myself a chance in a lot of situations. Just like earlier this year, I started, I used to do boxing when I was younger. I kind of lost it for a while. So I went back, I started MMA, and that was just like, obviously I was super nervous beforehand, but it was just something like throwing myself in there and challenging myself with something new, and kind of giving myself a chance to, I guess, to take a chance and see what happens. And it's honestly been one of the best decisions in my life. Just it's been so important for connecting myself back with my body while I'm kind of, psychology can get very up here. So it's kind of an important balance for me to have both.
Yeah, exercise is only something I've really come to a latter stage of my current life. I was going to say latter life, but I'm only 42. Yeah, like it just wasn't something that was around for me, but I really, really enjoy it now. And like you say, it helps me to balance myself kind of, body and mind. So with your absolutely what you said is right, that the professor had said we've got a duty of care really to do everything we can with this research, with these this data that the people have given so freely of their time to create. So what did you do with it? What happened next?
Yeah, so we had, I think, just about 105 58 participants, and then I'm not sure, 116, whatever double that is. I had to basically use a software. It's a diffusion tensor imaging software. So we had all the MRI scans, and then they were transferred to I think a DTI file, and then I used that program. It was really fascinating. It was a bit mind blown at the time. I could basically see their brain scan in kind of 3D. And part of the internship was to learn how to segment a tract. So to basically get rid of all the other white matter tracts and single out on this specific one. And then we used a measure called fractional anisotropy. So kind of a measure of the water diffusion in the tract, and how the integrity of the tract. So whether those water molecules are really like densely packed together or kind of sparsed out. And that can kind of, I suppose, by looking at other research, that can give us an indication of how well kind of functioning it is. So like my supervisor gave a really good analogy of it. It's kind of like a road from one place to another, and the white matter tract is like the road sending the information. And then if there's like potholes on that road, it can kind of, the information can get a bit damaged on the way. So basically I went through just over 100 left and right, on the left and right sides of the brain. So the bilateral alternates, segmented all of those, and we ran the statistics on the FA values, and then we had pre-collected social cognition tests data, so, and childhood trauma. So we just kind of did some like mediation analysis and correlations, and kind of seeing what was coming out of those, and yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And hearing you speak, like, even I don't know what half of this stuff is. Like, it's amazing. Like, even that you get to know this stuff and you get to be so competent and, you know, capable at what you're talking about and what you're understanding. This is massively important. And, you know, it sounds like you know, just really found a really wonderful opportunity where you've been able to help, you know, a research process, but you've also learned so much, and, you know, that will be useful for you in all of your areas of your career in future. You know, you'll have this understanding about the way that the brain works and what might stop it from working. And a really important part of what we do in this profession of ours is to do the psychoeducation for people and to de-shame a process in helping people to understand what might be going on for them and how it's not their fault. And I think sometimes being able to really talk about the neurobiology of someone's brain can be really, really powerful. So you've absolutely got a head start in that regard. Did you publish? Are you in the process of publishing?
Yeah, so we're actually in the, it's a whole new learning experience, the process of publishing. It's very, you know, I mean, yeah, we're in the process of kind of communicating with reviewer feedback, peer reviewer feedback right now. So it's quite intense, but not in a bad way. You know, it's definitely a really good learning curve. So me and my supervisor, he's actually out of the country at the moment, so we're kind of going back and forth on emails and doing all the track changes and kind of addressing some of the comments. But again, it's really helpful. Yeah.
I absolutely hate track changes, honestly.
Yes,
I hate it with an absolute passion, and I can never manage to get everything to disappear off the screen when it still says there's some there, and you're like, there's nothing. Yeah, I'm more of a fan of a comment box than track changes. Oh, it doesn't play well with me. You've done well there to not say this process is frustrating and tedious, because I know it absolutely can be. And then waiting, the exquisite torture of waiting for other people to kind of do their bits can be really, really difficult. Do you know what level of authorship you're going to be? You know, first, second, third, fourth. How does it look for you at the moment, Matthew?
So again, like my supervisor, Dr. Burke, he's been like really amazing in like guiding me through this process and really advocating, you know, I suppose for me to be a part of it. And yeah, so he's went out of his way to put me as first author, and yeah, so that's how it's looking so far.
That is so nice. What a lovely guy. And I was hoping you'd say that, because this sounds like your baby. And, you know, absolutely amazing. What sort of period of time are we talking about from when you first started, really, to now, to having it kind of, you know, the peer review comments and all of that jazz?
Yeah, so I think it was around the middle of May that we kind of were sure about what we were doing, and we did a pre-registration as well. And then once we kind of did that, we started around, I think, the middle of May, maybe like just before June. And then we wrapped up at the end of August then, because I was starting back on the semester on September. So yeah, just I suppose those kind of 3 months was where the bulk of it was done. Yeah.
Amazing. And then you just kind of written up since then, or you wrote up in that process as well?
Yeah, so we did the pre-registration, and then we were kind of writing bits as we were going. I did like the literature search, and I did kind of almost like a meta-analysis table for that to kind of lay out everything we had. And then the methods were pretty much the same from other papers we had done, just because it's pre-collected data. And then it was just the results and the discussion really once we had everything collected. So yeah, August was really the writing up the paper section.
Okay. Incredible. What an amazing way to use your summer break in a really productive way. You know, future Matthew will absolutely thank you for this, because it will also, you know, it's an area of psychology that people often feel daunted by, and don't understand, and will kind of hide and run away from. But actually you've really embraced this, and you know that will pay you rich dividends. You know, it will look great on your forms for applications as well, but it means that you will, you know, when you go to services, you will look for research opportunities, you will look for audit opportunities, and you know, you will be thinking as a research practitioner, which is absolutely what we train our psychologists to be. So I'm just blown away, absolutely blown away by what you've been able to achieve. And, you know, this takes dogged determination. This takes showing up day after day. And, you know, this is likely an unpaid internship. And so this is just your passion for developing your own career, but helping others at the same time. I think it's really, really admirable.
Yeah, I think, you know, I had a fantastic time. I think it's also, you know, a credit to a lot of the staff and the resources and support in the university as well. You know, I originally applied for a health research board scholarship that would have been more focused on kind of stroke victims and things like that. So it was my supervisor that kind of directed me to the neuroscience scholarship, and really just hands-on, you know, so it's definitely credit to him. He really allowed me to be there and kind of work at it then. So I definitely felt an obligation then to make sure I did all I could, you know.
Okay, so the scholarship means that you get some sort of remuneration, does it? Is that what the scholarship entails? You don't need to share figures with us, but how does it work from a scholarship angle?
Yeah, so the scholarship was actually 8 weeks. So we had it's not just psychology, the scholarship is kind of all like medicine and a lot of different areas in the college. So you pick a supervisor, put forward a project, and then hopefully you get the scholarship, and then you have 8 weeks to kind of work on the scholarship together. So yeah, we did that, and thankfully we got the approval, and then so that was a paid scholarship for 2 months, and then the third month, thankfully they extended it for another month, just through funding of the iRelate project, because we were still writing up the paper. So thankfully, yeah.
Isn't it amazing though? Because actually, you know, I know that not everyone can work for free, but for that sort of experience, you might have been like, I'd have done it for free. Like, yeah. I've learned so much. It's been so brilliant, but you know, getting pay is a bonus. And you know, we should be paid for our time. We should know that it's okay for you to earn money out of your really intricate, complex skills that you've learned over time. And that is real hours that you spent looking at all that data and collating it and putting it all together. And so, you know, absolutely, I know it's contentious honorary or voluntary work, but we do deserve to be paid. We're highly skilled, and yeah, I'm thrilled you were paid, but you know, I absolutely would have. I know I would have done it for free if I'd been in a position to afford it as well.
Yeah, same. Yeah, you know, I almost forgot about it at points, you know, that it was paid as well, which is great. You know, I guess on the other side of things, I'm happy it was paid as well, because I guess I wouldn't have been able to fully do it for 3 months. I work in a hotel as well at the part-time, and usually during the summers I'd work full-time, you know, to kind of save up for my fees when I was paying them, or rent or stuff like that. So it felt very surreal as well to be studying something and then be getting paid for it, even though I still felt like I technically don't have a degree in psychology at all at the moment. So it did feel a bit kind of, maybe a bit of imposter syndrome, but not too much, you know, in the beginning days, I guess.
Yeah, and when people are doing counselling degrees or counselling psychology degrees or professional qualifications, they kind of often tell me that they're having to work whilst they're doing their doctorate qualifications, and then they graduate, they're professionally qualified, they get like a band 7 or equivalent post, and then they're like, all right, I just have to do one job. This this is novel, and I'm getting paid a reasonable wage. Wow, this is radical. But yeah, like people do, I worked when I was at uni as well. I worked with disabled students. I loved thinking about my undergraduate degree as an opportunity to learn stuff at the same time. And I think it's a really exceptional way of making a really wise head start in your profession, because it's not, I can't speak for you, but for me, it wasn't terrifically labor intensive. I think there was a minimum, maybe even a maximum of 10 hours a week, including seminars. It wasn't a big demand on my time. And so absolutely I could have done more than I even did.
Thankfully this year, now the third year we're doing is not, I suppose it's not contributing to our final grade. So it's nice in that way. They give us kind of, I guess, not less pressure to do well. We still want to do well, but I suppose more space to focus on what we're learning, as opposed to pressure on assignments, which is really nice.
Yeah, and also, given your age, it gives you, all of your cohort, more time for your own brains to develop, to be able to get yourselves to be in the position where you're able to really immerse yourself in your final year to get your best possible grade, so that you are performing optimally. So that's kind of nice. You get a bonus year to learn, to see what excites you, to see what you like, what you don't. And yeah, you get these little information nuggets that you just get to store, that you suddenly like, oh, I remember something about that. And then it builds that level of confidence, I think, to be able to think about things in future. So, lovely to talk to you. But why, if someone is perhaps an earlier career psychologist than you, maybe they're doing, they're still in their sixth form education, and they're thinking, I don't know about psychology. Should I? Shouldn't I? Isn't everyone doing that? What's the point? What would you say? Why should people consider doing a psychology undergraduate degree?
Yeah, I think psychology is incredibly unique in that, I suppose the more you immerse yourself and learn about the subjects, it can kind of run in tangent with your own personal growth. The things you learn, I suppose, as you get older or you go through different experiences, it can change like how you learn about the things in your course, or like you said, those nuggets can kind of pop up again, and you're like, oh yeah, that I learned that last year, but it makes more sense now after you've experienced something, or you think a bit more. I think it's so applicable to all situations of your life, kind of, I suppose, like introspective situations, thinking about your own kind of, I suppose, internal human condition and stuff, and then kind of outside of yourself as well. Like I was saying, I work in a hotel, so I'm an accommodation supervisor, so we kind of have cleaners and guests, and that's a very kind of interactive, interpersonal position, where I guess like one example was we had a guest that was very angry one time, and she was just very upset, rightfully so. She left her phone charger in the room, and she was very upset because everybody who was talking to her seemed to say, no, it's not in the room, it's definitely not there. And I talked to her on the phone, and the first thing I said to her was like, I believe you. I believe that the charger was in the room, and I just tried to validate her feelings first, and then let her know we have a procedure for lost property. It's just not here, but I do believe you. She was kind of more upset that people didn't seem to be hearing her, So I think little situations like that is just where I feel like before I started the degree, it's really just, and to now, it's really just opened up my mind on so many different areas of myself personally, but also externally as well.
Brilliant. What a brilliant real world example. And it's really annoying to lose your phone charger, because then you can't charge your phone. And I speak from a very recent experience of my iPad charger having broken, and to replace it, £48. Like, it's not a small amount of money, And if you have to layer on the fact that, oh no, I've forgotten it, and there's all that, blame and shame and all of that, like, I've caused my own misery. Like, it's really challenging. But yeah, it sounds like you're a wonderful member of that team to be able to kind of draw everything together. And I love what you say about the human condition. It's absolutely true. If you've got any advice for anybody that's specifically Matthew-ish, about how to reduce burnout when you're an aspiring psychologist, what would you say?
I think socializing is incredibly important. If you're introverted, that's okay not to force yourself to be someone else, but I suppose find social situations where you feel comfortable, you know, something you have an interest in, maybe it's society in college, or maybe something simple like asking a friend to go to the arcade or play soccer or whatever you're interested in. You know, personally for me, it was kind of starting up something I had an interest in, maybe tapping in with my younger self. I used to like boxing, so I started the MMA again, and that was a place where I could just go and fully be in my body and leave all like psychology or anything just outside the door. And that was very helpful for like reducing that kind of burnout. I think where burnout comes in is when it's just constantly running on your mind, and if you have half an hour free, you're anxious because you're thinking about, I'm forgetting something, or you know, an assignment or something. So I think doing something where you can be fully in your body and is very helpful.
Yeah, and you described so beautifully the process of mindfulness there and why it can be so empowering and, you know, wholesome, whereas actually mindfulness gets a bit of a yawny bad rep, I think. But what it is it's just allowing yourself to literally do what you're doing in that moment without being distracted by all of the noise and the chatter. And for me, like every lunchtime when I'm at home, I will, sounds awful, I'm not eating a mindful lunch, because what I'm doing is I've got like these games that I play on my iPad, homescapes and gardenscapes. I am a bit of a homescapes and gardenscapes geek, but it allows me to literally just focus on that and the enjoyment of my food without all the noise and the chatter of the kids stuff that I've got to do and my clients and the podcast and, you know, my aspiring psychologist stuff. And it gives me a really wonderful mindful break in the day. So I absolutely hear what you say, and I love it and support it.
Yeah, for sure. I think you know, that was something I definitely had to kind of learn by fire, I suppose. Like in my second year, or even in my first year, you know, we have in the university, the points are quite high to get into denominated psychology. So there's a system where the top 15 people in the class can, or maybe a bit more than that, can transfer to denominated if you didn't get it originally by leaving certain points. So I suppose there's a lot of pressure, you know, in first year on people, you know, and people might not even want to tell each other what their goal is. You know, everyone's kind of looking at each other a bit competitively, and then kind of when you start second year, the workload goes up and it's kind of already a bit burnt out from first year. So I really had to learn to kind of prioritize kind of my physical health and mental health. I'm
just in awe of you, Matthew, and that is what I will say in your intro and outro. Like, I'm excited for your career in future. I would like you to keep me posted on how things go, and thank you for empowering so many people to think about how they can gain research experience, or any opportunity for that matter. I think it's going to be such a wonderfully well received episode. So thank you for pitching it to me, and thank you for the really important work that you're doing. And yeah, let me know how your degree classification goes next year.
For sure. Yeah, thanks so much for having me, and for all the content as well, and the book. Everything has been incredibly helpful, so thanks so much.
Oh, well, you're so welcome. Like I said, I just love it. It doesn't feel like work. It feels like a privilege to do what I do, and I hope that you continue to feel that way about this profession. So thank you so much. Look after wonderful Galway. I'm sure I'll be back in future.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, what a guy, what an inspiration. I really would love you to like this episode and give Matthew some kudos, because he's he's like a force to be reckoned with, isn't he? And he does it all with such a laid back approach. Like, I just did this thing, did this, you know, correlated this, did that, looked at that. What a guy, you know, just really inspirational. And so, yeah, I hope that you find it awe-inspiring. I hope that it helps you think about what your Achilles heels might be and how you might go about strengthening them. So yeah, let me know what you think. Do please watch the Galway episode that we spoke about as well. It's about my experiences of being a keynote speaker for the Irish Psychological Society. You may also find it helpful to watch the replay Q&A sessions, which you can do by going to my YouTube channel, going to the live videos, or clicking on the playlist option for Q&A sessions. People say really wonderful things about them as being helpful for their psychology applications, and then also there's some there for interviews as well. Thank you so much for being part of my world. I will look forward to catching up with you for the next episode of the podcast, which will be along to you from 6 a.m. on Monday. Take care.
If you're looking to become a psychologist, then let this be your guide. With this podcast at your side, you'll be on your way to being qualified. It's the Aspiring Psychologist Podcast with Dr. Marianne Trent.